next couple moments are going to be from the competitions. This one is a monologue interpreted by Renata. And in your programs you have a little synopsis of what this is all about. It's a book from a book written by C.S. Lewis, The Silver Chair. And it has a very nice history attached to it. It's a hyperbolical story about the church and Jesus Christ being a lion and sending some kids into an imaginary land to save a lost prince. And they do. They go there, they find him, he's enchanted by a very bad witch. And now you will assist at that scene where they find the prince, the prince is freed, but the witch catches them. And there is a duel of words, of wisdoms between someone who believes in God and someone who is totally against him. And the one who's against God tries to convince them that there is no such thing as reality, there is no such thing as an ultimate truth, but the truth prevails. So let's listen to Renata Murr.
2 Earthmen entered, but instead of advancing into the room, they placed themselves, one on each side of the door, and bowed deeply. They were followed immediately by the last person whom anyone had expected or wished to see, the Lady of the Green Kirtle, the Queen of Underland. She stood dead still in the doorway, and they could see her eyes moving as she took in the whole situation. The 3 strangers, the silver chair destroyed, and the prince free with his sword in his hand. She turned very white, but Jill thought it was the sort of whiteness that comes over some people's faces, not when they are frightened, but when they are angry. "Leave us," she said to the 2 Earthmen, "and let none disturb us till I call, on pain of death." The gnomes padded away obediently, and the witch queen shut and locked the door. "How now, my lord prince," she said, "has your nightly fit not yet come upon you, or is it over so soon? Why stand you here unbound? Who are these aliens? And is it they who have destroyed the chair which was your only safety?" Prince Brilliant shivered as she spoke, and no wonder. It is not easy to throw off in half an hour an enchantment which has made one a slave for 10 years. Then, speaking with great effort, he said, "Madam, there will be no more need of that chair. And you, who have told me 100 times how deeply you pity me for the sorceries by which I was bound, will doubtless hear with joy that they are now ended, forever. There was, it seems, some small error in your ladyship's way of treating them. These, my true friends, have delivered me. I am now in my right mind, and there are 2 things I will say to you. First, as for your ladyship's design of putting me at the head of an army of earthmen, that I may break out into the overworld, and there by main force make myself king over some nation that never did me wrong. Now that I know myself, I do utterly abhor and renounce it as plain villainy. Second, I am the king's son of Narnia, Rilian, the only child of Caspian, 10th of that name, who some call Caspian the Seafarer. Therefore, madam, it is my purpose, as it is also my duty, to depart suddenly from your highness's court into my own country. Please it you to grant me and my friends safe conduct and a guide through your dark realm." Now the witch said nothing at all, but moved gently across the room. When she had reached a little ark set in the wall not far from the fireplace, she opened it and took out first a handful of green powder. This she threw on the fire. It did not blaze much, but a very sweet and drowsy smell came from it, and all through the conversation which followed, that smell grew stronger and filled the room and made it harder to think. Second, she took out a musical instrument, rather like a mandolin. She began to play it with her fingers, a steady, monotonous thrumming that you did not notice after a few minutes. But the less you noticed it, the more it got into your blood and your brain. This also made it hard to think. She began speaking in a sweet, quiet voice. "Narnia?" she said. "Narnia? I have often heard your lordship utter that name in your ravings. Dear prince, you are very sick. There is no land called Narnia." "Yes, there is, ma'am," said Puddleglum. "You see, I happen to have lived there all my life. said the witch. Tell me, I pray you, where that country is. Up there, said Puddleglum stoutly, pointing overhead. I don't know exactly where. How, said the queen, is there a country up among the stones and mortar of the roof? No, said Puddleglum, it's in the overworld. And what, or where, pray, is this? How do you call it? Overworld. Oh, don't be so silly, said Scrub, who was fighting hard against the enchantment of the sweet smell and the thrumming. As if you didn't know. It's up above, up where you can see the sky and the sun and the stars. Why, you've been there yourself. We met you there. I cry mercy, little brother, laughed the witch. I have no memory of that meeting. But we often meet our friends in strange places when we dream, and unless all dreamed alike, you must not ask them to remember it. Madam, said the prince sternly, I have already told your grace that I am the king's son of Narnia. And shalt be, dear friend, said the witch. Shalt be king of many imagined lands. In thy fancies. We've been there too, snapped Jill. She was very angry because she could feel enchantment getting hold of her every moment. But of course, the very fact that she could still feel it showed that it had not yet fully worked. And thou art queen of Narnia too, I doubt not, pretty one. I'm nothing of the sort, said Jill, stamping her foot. We come from another world. Why, this is a prettier game than the other, said the witch. Tell us, little maid, where is this other world? What ships and chariots go between it and ours? Jill couldn't remember the names of things in our world, and this time it didn't come into her head that she was being enchanted, for now the magic was in its full strength. And of course, the more enchanted you get, the more certain you feel that you are not enchanted at all. She found herself saying, No, I suppose that other world must all be a dream. Yes, it is all a dream, said the witch. Yes, all a dream, said Jill. There never was such a world, said the witch. No, said Jill and Scrub, there never was such a world. There never was any world but mine. There never was any world but yours, said Dilly. Puddleglum was still fighting hard. I don't know rightly what you mean by a world, but you can play that fiddle till your fingers drop off, and still you won't make me forget Narnia and the whole overworld too. You may have blotted it out and turned it dark like this one for all I know. Nothing more likely. But I know I was there once. I've seen the sun coming up out of the sea of a morning and sinking behind the mountains at night. And I've seen him up in the midday sky when I couldn't look at him for brightness. Puddleglum's words had a very rousing effect. The other three all breathed again and looked at one another like people newly awaked. Why, there it is, cried the prince, the blessing of Aslan upon this honest martial girl. How could we have forgotten it? Of course we have all seen the sun. By Jove, so we have, said Scrub. Good for you, Puddleglum. You're the only one of us with any sense, I do believe. Then came the witch's voice, cooing softly like the voice of a wood pigeon. What is this sun that you all speak of? Do you mean anything by the word? Yes, we jolly well do, said Scrub. Can you tell me what it is like? Said the witch. Please it your grace, said the prince very coldly. You see that lamp? It is round and yellow, and gives light to the whole room, and hangeth moreover from the roof. Now that thing which we call the sun is like the lamp, only far greater and brighter. It giveth light to the whole overworld, and hangeth in the sky. Hangeth from what, my lord? And then she added, You see, when you try to think out clearly what this sun must be, you cannot tell me. You can only tell me it is like the lamp. Your sun is a dream, and there is nothing in that dream that was not copied from the lamp. The lamp is the real thing. The sun is but a tale, a children's story. Yes, I see now, said Jill. It must be so. Slowly and gravely the witch repeated, there is no sun. And they all said nothing. She repeated in a softer and deeper voice, there is no sun. After a pause, and after a struggle in their minds, all four of them said together, there is no sun. There never was a sun, said the witch. No, there never was a sun, said the prince and the marsh-wriggle and the children. For the last few minutes, Jill had been feeling that there was something she must remember at all costs, and now she did, but it was dreadfully hard to say it. At last, with an effort, she said, there's Aslan. Aslan, said the witch, quickening ever so slightly the pace of her thrumming. What a pretty name! What does it mean? Oh, hang it all, said Scrub. He's the great lion that called us out of our own world and sent us into this to find Prince William. What is a lion? Said the witch. Well, a lion is a little bit, only a little bit, mind you, like a huge cat with a mane. Only it's not like a horse's mane, you know, it's more like a judge's wig, and it's yellow and terrifically strong. The witch shook her head. I see, she said, that we shall do no better with your lion, as you call it, than we did with your sun. You have seen lamps, and so you imagined a bigger and better lamp and called it the sun. You have seen cats, and now you want a bigger and better cat, and it's to be called a lion. Well, 'tis pretty make-believe, though to say truth, it would suit you all better if you were younger. And look how you can put nothing into your make-believe without copying it from the real world of mine, which is the only world. Come, all of you, put away these childish tricks. There is no Narnia, no overworld, no sky, no sun, no Aslan. And now, to bed all, to bed. To sleep, deep sleep, soft pillows, sleep without foolish dreams. The prince and the children were standing with their heads hung down, the strength all gone from them, the enchantment almost complete. But Puddleglum, desperately gathering all his strength, walked over to the fire. Then he did a very brave thing. With his bare foot he stamped on the fire, grinding a large part of it into ashes on a flat hearth. And three things happened at once. First, the sweet heavy smell grew very much less, for although the whole fire had not been put out, a good bit of it had, and what remained smelled very largely of burnt marsh-wriggle, which is not at all an enchanting smell. Second, the witch, in a loud, terrible voice, utterly different from all the sweet tones she had been using thus far, called out, "What are you doing? Dare to touch my fire again, mud filth, and I'll turn the blood to fire inside your veins." Thirdly, the pain itself made Puddleglum's head for a moment perfectly clear, and he knew exactly what he really thought. "One word, ma'am," he said, coming back from the fire, limping because of the pain. "One word. All you've been saying is quite right, I shouldn't wonder. I'm a chap who always liked an overworse and then put the best face I can on it. But there's one thing more to be said even so. Suppose we have only made up or imagined all those things, sun and moon and stars and even Aslan himself, suppose we have. And all I can say is that in that case, the made-up things seem a good deal more important than the real ones. Suppose this black pit of a kingdom of yours is the only world, well, it strikes me as a pretty poor one, and that's a funny thing when you come to think about it. We're just babies making up a game, if you're right, but four babies playing a game can make a play world which licks your real world hollow. That's why I'm going to stand by the play world. I'm on Aslan's side, even if there isn't any Aslan to lead it. I'm going to live as like a Narnian as I can, even if there isn't any Narnia.
And I hope the symbols strike home, because it's very much what people say about church and faith. And it seems to me that the made-up things that people say we make up in Jesus and the kingdom are a deal more important than the real ones. And so let's live like Narnians and like Christians. Amen.